Hey fam, hey, welcome back to my channel. Here we are on a Monday night after the Sunday night of Sister Wives season 19, where Mary has friends. Who knew? Janelle was an outcast. Who knew? Christine has a vagina? And David has already found it. Ew. We got a lot to talk about right after the intro. All right, y'all, let me just let you know right off the top. This was not an episode that I wanted to come back after my break on. It was actually not that exciting, but we did find some things that we could pull out of it to talk about. First things first, y'all, watching Mary is hard. It hurts my heart, not in a I'm a fan of Mary way, but more in a I really wish that she would wake up and get herself straight kind of way. I'm glad she has friends. I'm glad that she was able to sit down with Hilary and what was the other one's name? I can't even remember. But it was the girl that she babysat and then a friend that she met later on in life. But of course, like I said, oh, I'm sorry, I wrote it down. Hilary with an interesting spelling and Andrea. Also with, I think, a pretty spelling, but different. So they go back to the restaurant where apparently she and Cody were in season one when she asked him about, hey, what would you feel if I were dating another man or giving my attention to another man? And he uses the word vulgar, the vulgarity of even imagining that. Yeah, well, that didn't age well because look how that turned out. The vulgarity of watching you with the wife that you have left now is real cringy, real cringy. But they sat her down, and I was pretty much proud of them because I feel like they said a lot of the things that if I could talk to Mary, I would say some of those things. I probably would have even gone in a more deep position about it. I would have really dug in there and told her how I felt. I was glad that I think it was Andrea who said to her, I really hope one day you get to a point where you don't have to think back or don't think back on, yeah, if he would just or if he would have just, like, because he's not going to. So just stop. You need to move on. You need to stop living in that pain of the past. You need to realize that I'm just going to say it here on this platform. And let me preface by saying, as I've said before, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but you were abused. You were abused. I'm sure that there are levels of abuse that probably happened in this marriage. Maybe you consider that not at all, but maybe I'm going to look at that and say you were probably, if it's a 1 out of 10, you were probably to me about a 4 or 5. Definitely mentally, definitely emotionally. So yeah, and I know that that's hard to look back on and accept, but you were. And even down to the end, really, using the moment of you moving away as a moment to make it about him and what you had and kind of keeping you hung on to that little string of hope. He knows how you are. He may say that he didn't love you and he shouldn't have married you, but 30 plus years of marriage with anybody, you're going to know them pretty much inside and out. And so he knows that there are certain trigger things for you and that by saying certain things, it will keep you hooked in to this life with him. He has a little bit of control. He doesn't have it over Christine. He definitely doesn't have it over Janelle. He does have it over Robin, but I think even she's a little bit more finessed with her approach to how their marriage works. And it's a bit manipulative and it's a bit of what your friends talked about. It's a survival mode. Your survival mode, Mary, is to be loyal, to be always hanging in there and making sure that, you seem to feel like you're making the decisions. And I think for Robin, her survival mode is I'm going to make sure that he is my best customer, that he sees me as the one who loves him the most, cares for him the most, would do anything agreeable until I get what I need or want. And then who knows? Who knows? And I'm willing to think that if I looked back into her childhood and talked to people who knew her, she did that a lot. And I think her mother taught her to be that way. She's all but said it in different episodes. So there you go. Like I said, I was really proud of them for just asking the questions that we probably all want to ask. I will say that I think this conversation and Andrea saying to her, now is a good time for you to just let it go and be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Not a bitter version, not a you did this, you did that version. I really do believe that tonight's conversation was ground zero for Worthy Up. This was the very beginning of the seed that was planted for Worthy Up. I believe it and I receive it. So there you go. I was also, something that stuck out in the conversation that was really kind of telling, not that we didn't know, but something that I'm glad, again, that she said to Mary was that, the reason that they did not want to be in polygamy, or at least Andrea did not want to marry into a polygamous situation, was because she just didn't understand that a woman, let's be clear, a woman had to suffer a lot before she could get out. Y'all, that's scary. That is the scariest thing in the world. I am a married woman who will not suffer. Marriages is up and down. Love is a choice every day. It's not going to be all peaches and creams and walks in the roses and sunflowers. But suffer? If I ever attach that word to my marriage, it is time to get out. And so it saddens me a bit that Mary doesn't realize or accept that she suffered, or that she has accepted that suffering was a part of her duty to marriage to Cody. Oh, y'all, this is getting deep. This is getting real deep. So then we move on to probably what I felt like was, how do we describe it? Let me just say this. I am very happy that Christine has found who she calls the love of her life. And I say who she calls because I don't know either one of these people. I don't know this man. I do have thoughts on it as it has gone on, and I still think that Christine is one of the coolest people in the world. But I'm also watching her in very real time turn into Robin. She is turning into exactly what she always accused Robin to be, which was this sort of damsel in distress kind of person who's always like, oh my gosh, he's so wonderful and so beautiful and whatever he says, he just makes things so easy. And it's like, I hear you and that's what you want. But I think that the measure of easy is a little skewed in the fact that you just came out of a marriage with someone who made it very difficult. So I think that by comparison, anything that you come up with in a relationship that is you get to choose, you get to have 3 cakes, you are getting basically everything that you did not have with a person, makes it look like that person is making it easy. Of course, every week we have gone on the roller coaster of my kids think this is too fast, but we don't care. We're not gonna stop. And I have said before that I think that is I understand the wanting to do that, but I also think that there's a part of your children's mental health that you should always take into consideration. Speaking of mental health, there were 2 things that I did not need to at all have a mental picture of or a thought of or a mention of. And that was number 1, Christine's boobs. Did not need to hear about that, even in jest in the cake. But go Truly for actually like speaking louder, speaking up. Let's just say that. But I also did not need to hear about Christine's no place when it came to her wedding dress. There are times when people, McKelty, says things that are truly for attention. And I am a person who absolutely cannot stand attention-seeking behavior. As a former teacher, I had a lot of kids in my room who thought that that was the way to get my attention. And I get that you need my attention for certain things, but when you start to say things that are outlandish or ridiculous or for attention, it turns me off. And so when I hear it now, especially from an adult, I just think, wow, you have some soul searching to do, or there's something that you need to figure out, because there's no reason in the world that you should be sitting in a public bridal store talking about your mother's private parts, whether her to-be husband can find them, and then on top of that, having her confirm that he's fine with it. Now, we know these are 2 adult people. We know that they have probably most likely slept together so that she could be divorced from Cody, according to Robin. And because they just love each other. And if they can't wait to be married, they probably did not wait to seal the deal before there was a deal to sell, as they would say, a deal to sell. But I just did need to hear about it, and I'm sure that the people in the wedding shop, had I been there searching for my wedding dress, hearing a gaggle full of women talk about each other or one person, the bridal's body parts, I probably would have given them a little bit of side eye. Then we go for the cake tasting, which they call a testing, and pretty much try the German chocolate cake. They try the red velvet. They try the vanilla almond, which, if you recall, vanilla almond was a choice when Robin and Cody were getting married, but they did not choose that cake when Robin and Cody got married because no one voted for that flavor. And so this time Christine said, gosh darn it, I'm going to have my vanilla almond. She probably could care less whether there was vanilla almond, but she's like, I get to choose. My big, strong, hunky man who rides a bike and is bald and has tattoos said I could have 3 cakes. 3 cakes, not just 3 tiers on one cake, but I get to have 3 cakes. Take that. Cody and Robin, take that. So there was that. That was pretty much the whole Christine night. Choosing a wedding dress, choosing a cake, moving on. Then we come back and we are having a conversation with the miserable triplets. I will affectionately call them Funeral Dirge and her carbon copies. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I pretty much just said that Robin is kind of just like a funeral dirge of a person. Like, she just always seems sad. It seems like that her theme song would be a dirge, and she's just unhappy with life. She says it's because, Mary's leaving and I'm losing my identity. Well, okay, but you didn't really fight for any of them to stay so that you could keep your identity. Or, as many people have pointed out, you wanted your identity to be the queen bee. And it didn't work out that way because they said, F this, I'm out. So the wish that you wanted on the inside sort of came on the outside, and I don't think you knew how to control it. So now you are where you are, sitting on a couch, talking to your daughters about joining another church so that they can date guys who are closer to their beliefs. Surprising things in this conversation for me were, number one, that your daughter was allowed to take a Buddhist class. That's a far cry from the religion that I think you all practiced, of which nobody's really clear. So many people have many different opinions about what religion you are. It is the AUB, but other than that, we don't really know what that entails. But whatever it is, Buddhism or its practices, I'm surprised that you would let her take that class. The other thing was that you were going to go ahead, whether Cody okayed it or not, to go church shopping, as you called it. Now, you did say that a boy or meeting men was not a reason to join a church. I absolutely agree. But then you are going to take them church shopping. Now, if I'm correct, both of your girls are considered adults. Now, I know mentally you have stunted them, and so they don't really think like adults. But they are adults. And so coming to you to talk about churches that you want to go to, not just talking about it, but almost asking for permission to go to a church. Just go to the church. Hey, Mom, we're going to go visit this church. And as an adult, she should be able to say, okay, great. Talk to me about it. Why do you want to visit this church? Well, we just want to check it out. We feel like that the beliefs match what we believe. They have some young people there. They do music there. All that good stuff. If it sounds crazy, Mom, that sounds crazy. Sounds like a whatever. But trust them enough to think that you have instilled in them all the things that you would want them to consider in choosing a church. But of course, like I said, they are not thinking like adults. They have truly been stunted by their parents. And so there you are. She did not like that they did not want to live polygamy. It's funny because I think it was Aurora who said, yeah, I want to meet guys that believe the same way. And she turned around and said, Robin turned around and said, oh, yeah, like some girls. You want to like meet some girls? And she's like, yeah. In her head, you could tell she went and guys, like I said. So, yeah, she did not like that. I think that Cody is nervous about not being a part of this decision or letting them go to another church because he knows that he will then lose control. They might actually start to think for themselves, have their own brains about, decisions and start doing things that he would decide or condemn and make them more like his other children. And gosh forbid they become like his other children, because then he can't tell them what to do. So if one of them is 19 and one of them is 21, I can't ever remember which one is which. When do they leave home? Because isn't his responsibility done with them at this point? Like, isn't he going to be soon giving them both money and telling them bye-bye? Or is that just the kids with the other wives because you didn't like them? It's a very real question. Okay. I find it interesting that Robin still calls the other women her sister wives, even though she kind of gives a little eye roll with it. She's like, well, my sister wives, they're still doing da-da-da-da-da. They're not your sister wives. They're not. Just call them Christine, Janelle, and Mary. You don't need to call them your sister wives anymore. We know who they are. We know very well who they are, and they are not your sister wives. Okay? So there it is. Yeah, so if I had to rate this episode, I would say out of 5 stars, I would give it a solid 2. I liked that the friends kind of told Mary what we all kind of would like to tell her. I'm glad that Christine is happy. And, the miserable triplets sat and talked about church. So maybe, just maybe, the positive in that is that they're going to go and find their own way a little bit. Maybe they'll grow up a little bit. Maybe they'll run into people who might tell them, hey, this is normal stuff for a 19 and a 21-year-old. Maybe. Who knows? As we can see on the next episode, Cody is going to be basically setting up his future and saying that he wants to make sure that, nobody can take Robin away, and wants to hear the story of how when they met, electricity ran through her body and blah, blah, blah. I have to say that when I said that, antennas stood up on my arms because it felt like he was just trying to secure his nails into her. I want to make sure nothing can take you away except death. Like, that's what it felt like to me. So that should be interesting. All right, fam, we're going to end it here. I know I'm late, and I know I missed last week, Thanksgiving, all that stuff, traveling, all that. We are coming into the Christmas holiday. I hope that you have got all your Christmas shopping done, and if not, and you live near a mall, be careful. Be careful. Do it early, do it online. That's what I say. That's my motto. All right, friends, have a great rest of your week. I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe. YouTube is punishing me right now because I am not posting consistently, so please share this with your friends. Let's get those likes and views up. It does nothing but help the channel and tell other people that I'm here. Have a great, great rest of your week. Remember, if you want to do something, there's enough room for everybody. Don't let anything stop you. Alrighty. Peace, love, and hair grease, y'all. We out.